not my meeting. There it goes.
There we go.
Right.
Hey.
Does yours have a limit? Okay, you pay. So, okay.
No, I paid. Yeah, I paid
Okay,
for
good.
pro. We're pros, baby. All right.
All right.
Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Goff, and I'm here today again with the lovely Shelby Kukul. How you doing, Shelby?
Hey. I'm so good. Thank you. I
Good.
love these conversations with you.
I know, me too. I'm so glad to have you back on. So, if you guys don't know Shelby, go back and listen to our many other recordings together. Today, we are here to tell Shelby's here to tell Shelby's birth story. And this is an ecstatic birth story that we hope will inspire so many other mamas out there to take power, take control of their births, home birth, or birth in the way that empowers them most. So, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Shelby, and tell us about it.
Thank you. First off, it would have been really cool to have you at my birth. When you say ecstatic birth, I look back and I think a lot of the reason, there's so many birth stories out there, but one of the reasons I really want to tell mine because I feel like it was a little different emotionally. And so that's something I want to share too, because it was, I had a lot of depression during my pregnancy. And also, my labor wasn't this like, my daughter was planned, but it wasn't this like, "Oh my gosh, I'm pregnant." Like I thought I would be like doing yoga and like frolicking on the beach. I lived in South Florida on the beach. I like would walk out and be like, "Oh, it's hot. I don't want to be here." It wasn't this beautiful experience, even though I wanted to be a mother so much. I prayed for her. She's my whole world. It was not an accident. She was totally planned. She's going to listen to this one day, so I want to make sure she knows that. But for some reason, I just had a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety, partially probably because I had morning sickness pretty much my whole pregnancy. And if you know me at all, I do not deal well with nausea. But I definitely know that it was an empowered pregnancy and birth. And that's something that I'm really wanting to share and talk about. It was very empowering. And man, when I had her, I just felt like I could take on the world. And I know that's because it went how I wanted it to go. I was at home. I had my sister, my mom, my niece was there, her dad, Sayla's dad was there. And it was beautiful. It was long and it was hard and it was emotional, but it was beautiful. And I never once doubted my strength. So that was really cool. So I wanted to start off with choosing a midwife, because that was part of the beginning. So I found out I was pregnant like right away. I just knew it. I knew I was pregnant right away, and which was crazy. Later on, my midwife said, "I think you might be pregnant with twins," because I was like, I don't know if it was just, what is the word, psychosomatic, but I was like, I know I'm pregnant. It's been a week. Oh my God, the smell of tacos makes me nauseous. I don't know. So I don't know why it happened, but my midwife was like, you must be pregnant with twins because this started really early. I think I took a test at like 5 weeks and knew. So I'm one that's like, let's get the ball rolling. Let's do this. Right. So at 10 weeks, I went to a birth center and I was very anxious and very nauseous. So I was in there with my crackers and I'm like, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. This wasn't empowered yet. Right. And the midwife was really like lackadaisical and really like, I said, "Well, when do I do blood work? Like, what?" And she's like, "It's up to you, you know?" And I'm like, no, this isn't up to me. I need you to tell me what I need to do right now." And that was just my emotion going into it. Like, she's probably one of the sweetest people in the world. I've heard of many other births at that birth center, and it's been wonderful. But we just didn't connect. And so when I left there, I thought, can I try somewhere else? I don't know. But my sister had an experience where she changed midwives at 7.5 months, I think. And so I called her, of course, and she's like, "No, if you're not feeling the connection, like totally go with somebody else." So I went with somebody else who was a little bit further from my house. She was about 45 minutes away. And I walked in the door and immediately I was like, "Yep, you're the one." Because her name's Galena Hinckley, and she was actually on the Fearless Motherhood podcast. How to Choose Your Midwife was the name of the episode. And she's just fantastic. She's wonderful. And we connected so well because she gave me that nurturing feeling that I needed, that support. But also, fast forward when it came to birth, she was like kicking my ass, come on, you can do it. Heels on the floor when you squat, so I needed that. I needed that, like, I need to cry, but I also need you to tell me I'm okay. And I don't know how familiar you are with homeopathics, but I took sepia pretty much throughout my pregnancy. Like,
For
sepia is
nausea?
for nausea. It really, I fit the profile for that. Nux vomica wasn't the one I needed for that. So it was nausea, and it was like sepia, I think, and pulsatilla maybe. The description was like weepy, wants to be held, you know, whatever the nausea symptoms were. But that was just me. Like, I just couldn't get into the bouncy pregnancy. So the midwife, she was just fantastic. So I had a really great experience with her. And yeah, so fast forward to birth time. Did not go that fast, but we can go right into that.
Well, how was your pregnancy besides weepy and nauseous?
Um, it was actually a wonderful pregnancy. The baby did really well. I was healthy. I mean, with all things considered, I just felt yucky most of the time.
Mm.
I was also pregnant January to December, so in South Florida, so it was hot. Um, but I was very healthy. I never had, gestational diabetes. Well, I didn't take the test, but no diabetes. I gained a good amount of weight, not too much, not too little. Baby
And
was
you're how
healthy the whole
old?
time. 39. I might have been 38. I think I turned 39 right after she was born. Yep.
Yeah, so for all those mamas out there that are in
Mhm.
their 30s, as far as
Yeah.
empowering, I know I had my last at 39,
Yeah.
and that's considered geriatric pregnancy, which is such a beautiful
Mhm.
term.
I know,
But
I know. And I never got that. I didn't
no.
she Of course, because it's a midwife. She didn't treat me that way. She was like, "I'm not concerned." The one thing she did think, though, was, the only time my age came up was when she thought I might be pregnant with twins. So I actually did my ultrasound at 18 weeks to see, because how early I felt the hormones, how, she said being a vegetarian could have had something to do with it for my whole life. I don't know why. I'd actually like to ask her that, why she said that. It was on some form too that she was like, "Look right here. If you have like these 5 factors, this increases your chances of having twins." Because I don't want to say it's from soy, because I don't believe in all of that. There's such controversy on that topic, right? I don't even know how that would apply, but so vegetarian, my age, my maternal grandmother's parents were both twins. So I kind of always knew I was going to have twins. So I was really kind of surprised and also a little bit relieved because I wouldn't have been able to give birth at home probably. She
Yeah.
was going to push for it. She did have the conversation. She was so confident that she messaged her OB and was like, "Will you support me in this twin home birth if my client is pregnant with twins?" And he said yes. So, there was,
Nice.
I mean, but there's a lot of factors that have to come into that. So, and now being a single mom, I don't think that would be as easy as just having one. But, but yeah, the pregnancy, I was healthy. I never had any major problems, and I'm really thankful for that. Just feeling yucky overall. Also, I was really fortunate to be in a position where I didn't have to work because I was in the yachting industry. So I couldn't work while I was pregnant, for one, and for two, I made good money beforehand. So not only did my partner support me, we had good money, I also had saved money. So I was able to just be like, "Okay, I'm laying on the couch and I'm Netflixing it." So that was a huge blessing, and I'm really thankful for that because I know that that's not the case for many women. So pretty much just laid around and took homeopathics all day long and tried not to throw up. I didn't throw up. I did not throw up one time the whole entire time. Um, I just stood there. Anyway, so fast forward, I was 41 weeks on the dot when I gave birth. So 3 days before that, I went into labor. My mom had come down to stay with me, which was just wonderful to have her there. And we're in Publix, and I was like, I feel something. Also at 41 weeks, I was like, is this actually going to happen? Like, I feel like this is a prank. Like, I feel like this, and I'm sure other moms going to feel, especially with your first one, like, is there really like a human in there that's going to like come out and be all cute and cuddly? I have all the baby clothes, I have the bassinet thing, not bassinet, but I had like the little sleeper side thing, all the things. But I was like, am I really going to get a baby? Because it just, I don't know, this just isn't happening. I felt like I'd been pregnant forever.
That's how you know it's about
And
to happen. That's the like,
right,
yeah, that's the
right,
sign.
right. And then that goes into labor when you're like, I can't do this anymore. You're about to have a baby. So I'm in Publix walking around and I was like, I think I feel something. I think something feels different. Okay. So it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My sister lived in the Keys at the time. So I started to get excited. So we went home and I called Sayla's dad and I said, you need to come home now. Like, I think it's happening. And so he came home from work and, there's no idea how long this is going to take. So I call my sister. She drives up that evening from the Keys. So like 2.5 hours. She gets there probably midnight and my mom had braided my hair and I'm sitting on the birthing ball and I'm like, la, la, la. Oh, I feel a little something, like I'm just going to breathe this baby out, you know? And, I'd listen to hypnobirthing for sure. And I 1000% support that. However, I think it just went so long that I was like, I can't listen to this woman's voice in my ear for some reason. And I don't mean to be negative about it because I really want to support other moms in this. This is just raw and truth. Okay. I'm just going to tell it like it is. So by Saturday morning, now I'm like over it. I'm like, okay, when's this baby coming? So my midwife comes and she like doesn't check me. I don't think she checks me, but she's like, okay, well, I'll be back in a couple hours. And I was like, where the hell is she going? She needs to come back. Like, no, 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 no. Because if she's not here, this baby ain't coming. So I need her to come back right now. And so the joke is like, I tried to fire my midwife because I was like, well, if she's not here, the baby won't come, which is the silly thought of being pregnant, right? So I walked around a lot. I lived on the second floor of the condos in Fort Lauderdale. And so I did the stairs. I sidestepped the stairs a lot. I didn't realize, but she was sunny side up. So that was what was keeping her from coming down. I'm trying to think of some helpful tips. Helpful
My
tips.
second was sunny side up. And
Yeah.
did you have the back labor? Did it hurt in your lower back?
It did, but it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. Like, it wasn't, like, excruciating. It was more, down my legs, I think.
Mm.
I don't quite remember. I wish I would have slept the first night. That's my advice. I wish I would have just rested. But I was like, "No, I need to." There's 2 different theories here. One, either I could have rested or I could have just started working. But my water hadn't broke. So I was like, I have time, you know? So I wish I would have rested a little bit that night because by Saturday morning I was just tired and my contractions weren't that close. But I had made a bunch of food and froze it for myself and, my team. And I was drinking a lot of coconut water and Cliff Bars randomly. I don't even know why I had Cliff Bars, but I like lived off of Cliff Bars for 2 days. They were just so good and like really filled me up. It was so random. Um, but anyway, so the midwife left. I tried to fire her, I was like, she needs to come back. And then that evening she came back and set up the tub, which was really awesome. She set up the tub in my little living room. And this is a pretty small apartment condo in South Florida. But we set up the pool and that was really nice to get into, except the liner had a hole in it. So I kept getting tangled in the liner. And
Oh,
every time I got in the
no.
tub, I was like trying to trick I was trying to trick the system. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to sleep for just a second. But my contractions were slowing down. So I was like, I'm just gonna lay here and rest. And they were like, no, 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 no. When that contraction comes, you need to work for it. Like, come on. So I said, okay, I'm gonna like let's get it on. Let's start doing it. So got out of the tub. I started doing squats and I was literally just walking around naked in the house. The air conditioner was on like 62. I had Bob Marley playing 24/7 because that's like my churching up music, I felt like he was very calming to me. And I had this beautiful display of all my mantras and all of my, breathe baby out. And I wrote her name. So, because I knew it was a girl. So I had it all planned and it was all on the wall. And I just kept looking up there and I'm like, really went inside and tuned into my baby. I said, okay. Like I was living on the outside in the beginning, I think, so much that like this was happening to me. I'm like, oh, it's just happening to me. And then I was like, well, we're not getting anywhere like this. And actually, I don't even think it was that crazy long. I think just to me, I just didn't know. I didn't expect that. Because I was so far along too. So, I decided just to go inside. I'm like, all right, let me start talking to this baby. And I laid down for a little while. And as I was kind of like drifting in and out of sleep, I was just like talking to her and like, okay, baby, like you're good. Like you can come out now. And I wanted to share this too a little bit. I've done a lot of reflecting on this time because, I am a holistic life coach and I'm really passionate about empowering moms to take their space and have, if they want to have a natural birth, and I want to talk to them about that. And I also like to leave space for the emotional side of it, like I'm honest, I was depressed, I was scared. Well, I wasn't scared, I was depressed. And then the scared part, I think, came where I knew that when she was inside of me, I had total control of everything that happens to her. So it was like this pull of like, I'm so ready to have this baby, but also I'm not ready for her to be on the outside. And that when she's on the outside, now someone else could, I don't know, give her a Cheeto. Like, what am I afraid of here? Like the things like, I don't know where that just came from. But
The
I,
outside world's a scary
the
place. I
outside
think that's
world.
a normal
Yeah.
fear. Yeah, I think that's very
Yeah.
common.
I just am kind of realizing this. I was talking to my mom. She's a hypnotherapist, and we were talking about doing a session, and this was just kind of coming up. And I was like, I think that's why my labor it was a total of like 42 or 43 hours because I just wasn't ready for her to come to the outside. Then she was exposed. Then I had to like protect her and make these decisions. And even though I knew I was confident in everything, was everyone else in her life? So I realized that I was my own, not enemy, but we were fighting against each other, my internal battle. And I wish I would have got a grasp on that earlier because I think it would have been a lot easier to have her. However, I never once was like, I want to go to the hospital. I did try to give up a few times, but giving up was just like me whining to my sister. I just said, I can't do this anymore. Can you do it? Um, so then it was like early morning, Sunday morning. And of course, I'm living in a condo. So I have lots of neighbors. Thankfully, it was a Sunday because no one was getting up to go to work. Because now my cute braided hair is like an afro. I'm in a robe, probably inside out. I'm in my Depends and I'm walking up and down my stairs sideways, and just trying to get her to turn, to try to get her to turn. And every time I walk up those stairs still, I'm like, have that memory of, man, I worked it on these stairs trying to get that baby out. And then I laid on the couch and I was like, I feel pushy. Like I feel this, it's such a crazy, like only a mother that's experienced it, that guttural, like, oh yeah, this is happening. And I said, I don't want to have the baby on the couch, of course, because the bed was all made, right? It's usually how it happens. Like the bed's all made perfectly. And I'm like, oh, get off the couch. And my midwife's like, is there a reason? I was like, yeah, because I don't want my couch to get all messy, let's go to the bed.
Yeah.
So then, because she was like, I mean, you're good. Like you don't need to move right now. So I got in the bed and I tried to like squat. I tried a couple different positions and it just wasn't working. So then she's like, all right, let's lay on your back. And I was like, apparently I was really funny throughout my labor. Like I would just like crack jokes in between. And so I was laying back and I go, I thought that's why I thought that was like one of the whole reasons we were doing this at home. So I don't labor on my back, and I'm laughing about it. Right. But at that point I was like, I'll lay down. I don't care. I'll do whatever you say. It wasn't really on my back. She propped me up, but it wasn't working with me squatting because I just was like, my legs were too shaky and I was out of energy. So
I mean,
I
because we're at
laid
what,
on,
42
I
hours
was at,
now? Is this right?
yeah, yeah, probably at 41. I pushed for about 45 minutes.
So yeah, 41
So
hours, no sleep.
Mm-mm.
Nothing running on energy bars and
Yeah,
coconut water.
Cliff energy
Yeah.
bar. Not even like not even homemade. There was really good food in the freezer for the midwives, though. My midwife's vegan, so I made stuff for her to have. Apparently, I was also in between contractions telling her the recipe for the soup that she was eating in the middle of the night, and then
It's
she's like,
practical.
can you just relax and rest?" So anyways, yeah, so I'm at like 41 hours. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. And so she's like, well, let's just lay back. And so um the attending midwife, Sandy, she wrapped a cloth around my hand.
Rebozo, the
Yes, but
rebozo.
yes, she got in between my legs and I put my feet on her thighs and we just did this tug of war thing. And it was so funny because when I went to see her the next day or whenever she came, she said, I am sore. She's like, girl, you worked me. And I was like, I'm sorry. Cause I was like, are you sure you want me to pull? And she's like, go for it. But man, that was nice because it just gave me that power to like pull back against. And I will say one thing that I wish I would have known. There's a reason why, oh my goodness. There's a reason why they say wait for your contractions to push. And I didn't. I was trying to trick the system it right. I was like, nobody knows if I'm having a contraction or not. So I'm just gonna push whenever I feel like it. Well, I ended up tearing a little bit
Mm,
from that.
yeah.
Internal tear. God, I hope this story doesn't sound scary or like to new moms. Um, because the moment's coming, the good moment's coming. Um, and so as she's starting to come out, um, hey, I'm recording a podcast. I don't know if she might be in there. I love you, sweetheart. So as she's starting to come down, all of a sudden, well, let me stop for a second. My niece that just popped in the door here, she's 8 years old now. She was there at 3, and my sister's beside me holding my hand, like, giving me all the power she has. And my niece is like chomping on a carrot. She's just watching me, and then she's like, "Mommy, I'm hungry." And so my sister would like run in the kitchen and she's like, there was like this half-eaten bagel, but I was going, "Do not leave me. Do not leave me." So she just like grabbed whatever food was there, give it to her daughter. But I'm telling you, my niece Della was like at the movies. She was just like, "Well, this is interesting." It was her second birth that she had attended, but she just like it did not phase her at all.
Nice.
Yeah, we're very close to say the least. So as she was coming down, I was getting close, probably crowning. Um, all of a sudden, everyone started moving, and this was like the first moment of like probably my new personality. Now that I'm thinking about it, this lioness came out of me, and I just said, "Everybody, stop moving! Like, what is going on?" And I have it on video. I can't share it because bless my mother, she recorded it like straight on. There's like it's just all baby's head. So but yeah, I just said, everyone stop moving. What's going on? What's going on? And the midwife was like, just okay. Like baby's coming. I have to get gloves. So she handed the rebozo to my sister. So then my sister finished it off, which was so empowering. But in that moment, I felt like I really took control of the situation and put myself first, which is not something I usually do in life. And I put myself first and said, I can't deal with everyone's moving, everyone's talking, like what's going on, Sayla's dad's going, just breathe, breathe, babe, breathe, babe, breathe. Everyone's excited, baby's coming. And I was just like, stop talking. Why are you moving? Everybody. And it's great in the video. Everyone just goes, it's okay. Everything's okay. Okay. And then I was like, okay, all right, okay. And then my sister grabbed on and then we went to pushing again. And it was so sweet afterwards. My sister said, that was such an empowering moment I got to share with you. And she's like, she even had like it, like the baby birthed right on her lap, basically, which was really cool. So, yeah, baby came out and she was just huge. She was like, I felt like I gave birth to a toddler. So this whole time I'm like, am I really gonna get this baby? Am I gonna get this baby? Well, my nieces that had been born were like really tiny, 7 pounds. They had a lot of vernix. Sayla came out like ready to roll. She was like, had a tiny bit of vernix at 41 weeks. She had meconium on her a little bit. Is that right? Meconium? I always forget. Yeah,
Meconium.
meconium. Um, so she had a little bit of that. But she just had this great big mouth and she latched right on and she was cute and slimy and perfect. And I was like, holy shit, I did it. Like I did it. And it made every second of that pregnancy absolutely worth it. Like in that, and I'm preaching to the choir here. You've done it 5 times, but to all the moms that are newly pregnant, it was just super empowering. Super empowering. I felt like I could do anything in the world. And also I felt amazing right afterwards. I was like, huh, no more heartburn, no more nausea. This is great. Oh my God, she's so cute. Yep. And she latched right on and she's perfect.
Mm.
It's perfect. Yeah. I did have
Yeah.
bleeding, but I wanted to touch on that point too, because choosing your midwife, um, you know, knowing one of the questions I have in my course is like how to ask the midwife, like, how do you handle an emergency? What are you equipped to deal with? And my midwife had, well, for one, there was only a couple options in South Florida for midwives. So I was kind of like, it's either you or the chick that was kind of like last days ago. So I kind of just went with Galena, but also she has birthed over like thousands of babies. So I knew that she knew what was going on. And the attending midwife, they had been in business together for like 15 years. So I was very trusting of them. But she did. So I'm holding Selah and I'm nursing. And I said, "Do I have any tears?" And she said, "No, just like a tiny little bit. I'm probably just gonna put some honey on it." I was like, "Oh, awesome." I was like, "It worked. I pushed right through without those contractions." And then a couple minutes later, she was like, um, so she's down there, checking things out, and she says to Sandy, what is it? She's like, "I need the Pitocin. I need Pitocin. I need Pitocin." And like Sandy was like moving as fast as she could. And I looked down and she said, "You just keep looking at that baby." And I said, "Okay." And then she said, "Do you have any tea?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Carly, we need some hot tea." And I was giggling. I don't know if I was delirious, but she needed me to have some black tea because I was bleeding. She thought it was my uterus. So, I also laughed in that moment because I had watched Call the Midwives, and in any traumatic experience in any type of British shows, they're always like, "I'll put the kettle on," you know? So I'm like, "Oh, it must be an emergency. We need
Oh,
to have
great.
okay, whatever." I'm like, "This is great. This yes, I would love a cup of tea right now." So I'm sipping on my tea, but Galena kept saying to me, "Just look at baby. Just look at baby. I got this. I got." And she was so calm. Apparently, there was blood like squirting out. Yeah. So I guess she thought it was hemorrhaging. Got the shot of Pitocin in my leg, and I never even questioned that because I trusted them 100%. And my sister was right there. And so I talked to her later about that. I talked to both of the midwives, and I actually had an internal tear. So it was just right on the inside on the bottom. I don't know all the medical terms, but right on the inside. So when she saw that blood coming out, at first she was like, "Oh, okay, we're bleeding." Um, but the didn't I guess I didn't need the Pitocin, but I'm so glad that she was there and she did it and how, everything worked out perfect. Um,
Did that
and
make the afterbirth pains bad?
you mean like when I was giving birth to the placenta?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes. That
Yeah.
was when she pushed down on my uterus. I She probably still has a scar on her arm from my nails. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing right now?" And she's like, "I know, honey. I know. I love you so much. I love you so much." But that was weird. I think that was a weird experience. I kind of forgot about that. It's weird because you just push this big baby out and then you're pushing that, but it's like you don't really feel it kind of. So I
Yeah,
don't remember
it's
about
it's been a different experience for me with each one, but With Karina, the afterbirth was more painful than the birth itself.
Mm.
But I know, Pitocin can make your contractions, that's what they're doing. They want your uterus to contract down because if you are hemorrhaging, the
Mhm.
uterus needs to tighten down to stop that blood, to control the bleeding. So yeah, I can see where that would make the afterbirth pains, trying to, clamp down so hard to get that blood to
Yeah.
stop.
You
Yeah.
know, I never even thought about that, Nicole. I don't remember that. I don't remember having a lot of contractions or pain after that point. I mean, I was just in a complete state of bliss with that baby in my arms. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And I tell her that all the time now. Actually, I say, I've done a lot of cool shit in my life. Sometimes I even say shit. I've done a lot of cool stuff. I've lived in the islands. I've run boats. I've been on multi-million-dollar yachts. I've worked for celebrities. I've done lots of cool stuff. You are by far the coolest thing I've ever done. I'm like, this is the most incredible journey. Um,
I'd
so
love to highlight for a moment that the experience that you're talking about, because of the fact that you weren't in a hospital setting, because of the fact that you were in a comfortable setting at home, you were not drugged,
mhm,
you were
mhm,
able to experience that. And, we've talked, if anybody wants to go back and look at past episodes, we've talked about that, cascade of hormones and everything that needs to
mhm,
happen in order to
mhm.
get to that blissful, connected space with
Yes.
your baby. But it's so important to highlight that, you set yourself up to have that
Mhm,
experience.
mhm,
And also, one thing when you were telling your story that really stuck out for me is that it's the heroine's journey, right? You had to learn these internal lessons,
mhm.
you know?
Yes, yes.
And part of that was, it's kind of a dark night of the soul. It's going
Mhm,
inside. You had all that nausea. You really, weren't enjoying your body during the pregnancy.
mhm,
And then, yeah, at the end, you were holding her in. You were holding
mhm,
on to it because the outside world is scary. So, this internal struggle that most of us have to go through, and with each pregnancy it's usually different. There are lessons, with each pregnancy and birth. There are these lessons that we have to go through that really change us. They change us as women. They really shape us. And if you have subsequent, I know you're one and done, but for women
yeah.
that do, if you have subsequent, each pregnancy and childbirth is a new lesson, and you become a whole new person every single time.
Wow. I do, I have, like, I have 0 regrets about not having more children or anything like that. Like, I totally am great with where I am, but it would have been really cool to experience that because and that's a thank you for bringing up that point. Um, I have never loved my body more since I gave birth and saw what it could do. And you're right, I was so present for every bit of my pregnancy and maybe that's why I didn't feel good too, because I was feeling all the things. Like I had the space to sit there and just feel, Which, again, anyone that knows me listening knows I'm like really into feelings. I'm definitely, a very empathetic person. I feel all the feels. Um, so being totally present in my birthing experience and feeling every little change in my body for sure. And then again, being at home was so beautiful because like my bed, my toilet, my kitchen, my things, my couch, my stairs. All the neighbors were like rooting for me, everyone knew. We saw the midwife go by. My sister was there with me and she was able to go sleep. My sister and my niece went and slept. Um, so being in my own space with and having control over it's too cold in here. It's too hot in here. I want to go outside. I need to move. I moved so much. I did not sit still for very long.
Yeah, and
Um,
let's talk about what didn't happen because
yeah,
of that too.
yeah.
Because what would have happened, and I'm sure what would have
Mhm.
happened if you had been in a hospital setting at
Well,
42 hours.
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. C-section. And baby being sunny side up. And I don't know. I think that my water I feel like my water didn't break until like Saturday evening, which was also a wonderful thing. So many, I mean, I'm sounding like I'm complaining and going, "Oh, it was this and blah, blah," but it was so perfect. It was such a perfect experience and such a learning experience for me. I needed to go through that. I needed to feel all of that. Um, and yes, so the fact that she was face up, and if I would have just been laying on my back in a hospital, no way. There's no way. Oh, you're bringing up so
With
many good points that I hadn't thought
monitors.
about.
Yeah, with
Mhm.
monitors all over you, you wouldn't have been able to walk up and down the stairs.
No
And
way.
they would have announced, after 24 hours that you're not progressing. They would
Mhm.
have given you Pitocin.
Mhm.
And then because she was sunny side up, things would have gotten really intense and uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
you would have had to get an epidural. You would have had to be confined to the bed. And they would say, well, you're not progressing. So into surgery. And yeah. And then you wouldn't have had that blissful experience because that cascade of hormones that needs to happen to have that bliss, to have that ecstasy in childbirth gets
Oh,
completely ruptured. And yeah, so rather than that empowering experience, it would have been totally different. So
I
so
didn't
it's
yeah.
important to choose your settings and your attendees very
Yeah.
wisely.
Yes, and I've never really given it that much thought actually, like, walked through it like you just did, so that's really you're really right. And I know for me, I've been fortunate to not have to go to the hospital in my life. So hospitals are not a place where I mean, they did just save my mom's life, so I know that they have life-saving, but I don't that's not where you need to go to have a baby. This is not a traumatic experience. Let's do this at home where you're not I believe in all of that, obviously. I'm super passionate about that. So to me, going to a hospital wasn't like, "Whew, I'm somewhere safe now." I would be more like, "There's germs, it feels yucky, who's this? Oh my gosh, the change of the nurses." That's another thing when I was just in the hospital with my mom with pneumonia, it's like once you get a good nurse and you're working with her and she's progressing, my mom was progressing so much, and then another nurse would come in for the night shift, and I mean, God bless them, they shouldn't work 24 hours a day, but now the shift changed and you have a whole new outlook on something, and so imagine that in childbirth when it's like you get close to someone. I mean, my midwife, Galena, was curled up in her sweater, like asleep in the corner, while I'm laying in the tub because it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the other midwife's talking to me. She's eating. They take shifts. I mean, she stayed with me the whole time. Obviously that's what they do. But so I didn't fire her. She did come back. And she knows this story. I've told her, I'm like,
Yeah, and that would have been a different birth story. That would have been the free
yeah,
birth story.
yeah, which thank God, it was just funny. I was just
Uh,
it's for some reason in my mind, I was like, "If midwife is not here, baby will not come." So if she leaves, I was, like, doing the math. So she
but
has to
it's
drive 45.
amazing how the baby just comes,
Yeah, I know,
no matter who's there or where you are.
I know, I
Okay,
know.
well, so
Yeah,
baby has come. Let's move into
mhm,
postpartum. So tell me a little bit about your postpartum because I know you wished you had taken a little better
yeah,
care of yourself. And again,
yeah,
I think we did a whole episode about postpartum, didn't we?
we did,
We
we
did.
did.
So yeah, that's a important topic that not many people talk about.
It is, and you, reconnecting with you and talking about it a lot and in depth in our workshops that we've done and stuff has really reminded me, like, wow, we really do need to take that time in that space. So, so for me, I was by myself a lot, because Selah's dad works on yachts, so he was gone, and so there's a lot of time when I was by myself, and I felt so good after I had given birth. I mean, I was sore and I was bleeding, but I just felt so good. I was like, "All right, let's do this. I can go shopping now. I can like go up and down the stairs." We also didn't have a, so I was just ready to go. I had spent my whole pregnancy kind of just, bleh. I mean, I had a couple months in the middle where I felt okay, but it was also like August, so I felt good inside, um, inside the house and air conditioning. So baby's there. So now I'm like, I'm ready to do all the things. Let's get it on. I'm feeling so good. We lived in this on the second floor and this is one of the most ridiculous things I did. The washing machine and dryer it's a communal. So you have to walk down, put your name on a board. Okay, I'm gonna have it from 3 to 4. And then upstairs, get the laundry, get the coins, get the things, go back down, do it right. Well, I decide while I'm pregnant that of course I'm doing cloth diapers. Like, yeah. So my best friend Carrie's like, I got the whole lot for you. All the newborns, they're all folded perfectly. She came and visited me and we had them all in the drawer. They were all put together perfectly. What the hell was I thinking? Like, where am I washing these? Downstairs. So I'm going up and down the stairs with a baby because I can't leave her and I won't leave her. Um, and so I'm going up and down the stairs and I'm washing these and then I'm hanging them to dry. So then it's South Florida and it's like rains all the time, you know, every afternoon shower or whatever. So now they get wet and I got to start all over again. And I remember sitting in the bathroom, like trying to scrub the poop out of one of the things. I was like, you can do this. You can do this. Like Carrie does this for her babies. And I was like, when I looked back, I think I talked to her and she said, you know that I started doing that when they were like 6 months old, right? Like Selah's like 4 weeks old. You don't need to do that right now. Just put on the diapers. She has a long time to cloth diaper. And I was like, oh, thank you. But I had these expectations of like, I'm a crunchy mom. I am doing it. I can do this. Um, Also, the water in Fort Lauderdale is awful. So I am straining her her bath water through my Berkey filter into a pot, warming it, then putting it into her little tub on the table. I think that's how I'm bathing her. Yeah, I moved to the country not long after that. But I was just pushing myself too hard. You know, I thought you laid around this much. Now it's time for you to get moving. And I think I was just really excited too. I was excited to move, to get my body going, and exercise. And then I went down to visit my sister and I was at like week 6, I think, postpartum. So I drove down to see my sister and we went to the Dolphin Research Center down in the Florida Keys. And I was walking around and I had on white shorts and I felt good. Like I really did feel good. And I just bled right through my shorts. And I was like, okay, like I feel like this isn't good. Like I'm at 6 weeks, you know? And also the house we were staying in was a 2-story house, the house in the Keys. So all the houses down there, you know, up on stilts. And my sister was wonderful. She was like, you don't need to keep going up and down the stairs. Like, just stay upstairs. But of course, I'm like, no, I'm carrying my damn suitcase. I can do this. Like, I'm super mom. I can do it all. Um, and so I call my midwife. I was like, hey, I got a little spotting, blah, blah, blah. And she says, okay, if you don't rest and stop, you're getting an ultrasound. Like, we're going to go in. And I think she knew me so well that she like used a little bit of scare tactic. Like, well, Shelby, then we're going to have to go in there and see what's going on. And I was like, okay, okay, okay. And I literally was just like, I'll sit still. And I was good in like a week, less than a week. But looking back, I just had high expectations for myself. I did like, you know, sleep and baby sleeps and all that. And after that was COVID and separation of her father and I moved and there was a lot, but I'll tell you the reason I'm bringing that up, I savored every second of that child's life. Like when I look back and I think, oh, she was 6 months old. This was going on. My dad he had cancer. I was taking care of him as he's going through treatment. It's COVID. We're totally locked down in the middle of the country. Like we weren't going anywhere, doing anything. I was taking care of my mom and my dad and a new baby and the separation. Her dad was having trouble coming up to visit because of COVID and all the things. But I made myself stay so incredibly present with that baby because I knew it goes by so fast. So when I look back, I'm like, I was there. I was there. There was so much else going on, but I was there and with her and I, you know, really absorbed that. And we moved into cloth diapers at like 3 months, 4 months and did it all the way up until which I don't know if this plays into it. I think it does, but she started pooping on the potty at 8 months.
Oh, wow.
And she was probably out of diapers like 15 months, maybe. I
I
think.
think it's individual because Ari almost not all, maybe a half a dozen not cloth diapers, you know, traditional diapers. And I didn't get her potty trained until almost 3.5.
Yeah.
So some
It
of it,
has
I
to
think,
be.
is personality
I think it
because
has to
that girl
be.
was so stubborn about sitting on the potty.
Yeah, I think it really is. And then all of a sudden she was wearing pull-ups until she was almost 5 at night, and I was just like, "What?" Like, I tried to not do it once or twice, but she still nurses, so she's, like, drinking all through the night. You know, when you're potty training, you're like, "Okay, we're not gonna have any water, like, an hour before bed," but she's nursing all night long, so I'm like, "Well, we're just gonna wear pull-ups." She started to kinda get, like, over it. She's like, "I'm too old for this. I don't wanna do this anymore." I was like, "Well, sorry, we're gonna do it." And then I ran out of pull-ups one time, and I was like, "Okay, we're just gonna try this," and I had ordered some, and she never peed the bed again and just never wore them again. I was like, "How did you just do that?" And she still nurses. Like, how did you just all of a sudden we're like, "Okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore." Like, your
Just
body.
ready. Yeah.
Just crazy.
Yeah, that's how it is
So,
with a lot of things. Well, before we get too far ahead, I wanted to ask you, so if we're talking to new mamas or I'm sorry, expectant mamas,
mhm,
and there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of
mhm.
things that are coming at you, especially if it's your first time, and a lot of it seems scary and overwhelming. And like, what advice would you give?
I would, first of all, going to the hospital and having a needle in my back was scarier to me than being at home. That's one thing I had said in another podcast, like, that's pretty much on point, like, that sounds terrifying, really think about that. I think listening to birth stories and watching there's some great birth videos on YouTube. Hannah McNeely has a couple of beautiful births, and I really love watching her stuff, so I recommend that to my clients a lot just to see that you can do this. Your body was meant to do this. So, really, it's about educating yourself, I think. Educating yourself on what's going on because being informed takes the fear out of it, right? When you're informed about something or you don't want to go do something, it's probably because you're afraid of it. You're like, "Oh, I don't know." And mothers that I know that were like, think I'm crazy for birthing at home, and I know you've probably had this experience, you say, "Well, why? Why don't you wanna do that, or why wouldn't you do that?" "Oh my god, I don't wanna feel that pain." "Oh my god, I don't wanna what if something happens?" It's like, "Well, let's talk about it." Like, talk to a midwife. Really, and I recommend listening to the episode, with Galena on the Fearless Motherhood because she talks about that. Like, she said, "We as midwives prepare you and we plan ahead to not let you get to that point where something could happen. Like, we make sure you have a good diet so we don't have to deal with gestational diabetes. We work on that the whole time, so we're planning and avoiding because we want you as healthy as possible, and we're watching you the whole time and we're communicating with you deeply, not just doing some blood work. How are you feeling? What are your emotions like?" And really, that's how my birth story went well because my midwives were so in tune to me as, as an emotional person.
Yeah.
So really educate yourself, get a doula. I really think a doula, I had my sister who had already had a baby and my mom was there, but had I not had that, I definitely would have had a doula. Um, and just get informed.
And postpartum, what would you have done different?
Had a doula. I really would have.
Yeah,
Um,
the postpartum doulas are life-changing.
oh, I would have because, there's a point where it's like, "Okay, lay down and rest." Like, "Mama, you need to rest." Like, "Okay, but also I haven't eaten. I don't have anyone here to cook for me." Or maybe they're not cooking what I want them to cook. Also, there's laundry all over the place. Like, things still need to be done. I would have asked for help more, you know. Definitely. I was also in a place, yeah, that's my advice. I was also in a place where I didn't have other people around me, but yeah, definitely just drop the ego. And when people offer to help, my mom says, "Accept with grace." Someone comes to you and says, "Is there something I can do to help you?" They're doing that because they want to. They really want to, and it feels so fulfilling and so wonderful. I love helping people. I love when someone's like, "Hey, would you mind?" You know? "I really need this." Like, right now I'm caring for my mom, and she's like, "I'm sorry you have to do this." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm honored." Like, I'm honored that you allow me to take care of you and you're being such a good patient. Um, so
Yeah, it's
allowing
a
people to
gift
help.
to the other person,
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
accept that help. It really is a gift to the other person. It took me 5 pregnancies to realize that.
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
lesson for number 5.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially with women, and other moms, I bet almost every mom would sit here and say the same thing. Like, I wish I would have taken more time. I wish I would have accepted help. So now, as that mother, I'm going, hey, just sit there. Or you could be like Nicole, like you said on the one of the podcasts we did, where you're like, I just laid there naked on my chuck pad and then I couldn't get up and do anything. It's like, I can't get up. I'm naked right now.
I'm naked and bleeding all over the place. Like, what do you
Exactly.
want from me?
Exactly.
That's how
Like
you
in a
set
situation like
boundaries.
this. Yes, that's it. Your boundaries. I love your boundaries. Um, yeah. So informing yourself and reaching out to other people and just talking, open the conversation. If there's something you're afraid of, I'm sure there's someone else you're afraid of. I was really afraid of throwing up. I wasn't really afraid of the pain of childbirth. I just didn't want to throw up. I never did. That was literally my issue. I paid
Uh,
$50 for a telehealth appointment with a nurse to get Zofran that's still sitting in my cabinet in there because I was afraid. But gonna be working on that fear here pretty soon with some hypnotherapy.
nice.
But yeah, if there's some fear you have, let's open the conversation. And Nicole and I love talking about pregnancy and birth, so we're always here to talk. If I
Yeah.
were to do it again, I would take that 40 days. I think
Yeah.
that would be beautiful. Yeah. And you're so right about being at home and being able to go on that roller coaster of emotions and really feel everything, because I'm glad you brought that up, because it was unbelievable the night and day. Like, that baby was born and it was whoosh, this is incredible. So
Yeah. And an
I hope
ecstatic
this.
birth to me isn't about, pain-free and being happy and blissful the whole time.
Mhm.
That's not what I consider an ecstatic birth to be, but it is being present and in the moment and feeling all the feelings, just like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this story helps someone else feel inspired. It's very raw and I'm an open book. So thank you for
I'm
having this
sure it
conversation with me.
will. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for opening up and sharing.
Yeah. I love your baby on you right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nice touch. All right. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.